I was driving too fast in the rain when my phone rang. The screen flashed Nana Rose, and my stomach dropped so hard it felt like it hit the pedals. Late-night calls from elderly relatives don't mean hello. They mean ambulances. They mean falls sirens, that hollow sentence that starts with "I didn't want to worry you, but..." I answered on the first ring. "Nana? Are you okay?" Her voice wasn't weak. It wasn't breathless. It was charged tight, vibrating, almost electric. "Lena," she said. "I need you here. Now." I was already pulling my jacket on. "Is it your heart? Did you take the evening pill? Should I call emergency services?" "No hospitals," she said quickly. Then she laughed, or cried, I couldn't tell. "Just drive. And don't tell your mother. Don't tell anyone." The line went dead. I made the drive in half the time, rain blurring the motorway into streaks of white and red. My hands ached from gripping the steering wheel. 3 weeks earlier, I'd spent my last few hundred on her heart medication after my family decided she was too expensive to keep alive. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been counting coins for groceries. 3 weeks earlier, I thought I was one bad month away from losing everything. Now she sounded alive. Too alive. When I turned onto her street, I slowed instinctively. Her house was glowing. Every single light was on. Porch. Living room. Kitchen. Upstairs bedroom. She used to sit in the dark to save pennies. Now her home looked like a lighthouse. I parked crooked, ran through the rain, and burst inside. "Nana!" She stood in the doorway, perfectly composed. Not in her faded nightgown. Not wrapped in blankets. She was wearing her navy church dress, pearl earrings clipped neatly in place, hair brushed back like she was about to attend a wedding. The coffee table held a vase of fresh lilies, real florist lilies, not grocery store stems. The good teacups were out. My heart pounded. "What's happening?" I asked. "Why are you dressed like this?" She smiled. Not her soft smile. A different one. A dangerous one. "Lock the door," she said. "And pull the blinds." I sat across from her, pulse racing, while she poured tea with steady hands. "Nana," I said slowly, "please tell me you didn't do something reckless." "I did something necessary," she replied. She reached under the sofa cushion and slid a thick cream envelope across the table. It wasn't junk mail. It was heavy, official, embossed. I opened it. "Read the first line. Then the second. Then the number." I stopped breathing. I laughed, sharp and hysterical. "This is fake," I said. "This has to be fake. Is this a scam? Are there cameras somewhere?" She shook her head. "It's real. The money clears in 2 days." The figure blurred on the page. An amount so absurd my brain refused to process it. Not thousands. Not millions. Something else entirely. The kind of number that bends reality around it. "You're telling me you were sitting in the dark, cutting pills in half, while this existed?" Her smile faded. "That," she said quietly, "is the part you don't know yet." She took a breath. Then she dropped the truth. "I found out about the ticket weeks ago." The room tilted. My ears rang. "Then why?" I whispered. "Did you ask the family for money?" She met my eyes. "Because I needed to know who still had a soul." I felt cold. She leaned forward. "The first time, I really was broke. That was real fear." Then her voice hardened. "The second time was the audit." She told me everything. How she'd called my mother after confirming the win. How she'd asked for a small amount, nothing to them, just enough to keep the lights on. How my mother told her to manage better. How my aunt suggested she rethink how much life she was maintaining. How my cousin recommended a government facility to take pressure off the family. All while she was sitting on a fortune. I swallowed. "If any one of them had helped," Nana said softly, "I would have given them everything." She reached into her purse and slid a check across the table. My name. An amount that made my vision blur. "For the medicine," she said. "That's just the beginning." I stared at it, hands shaking. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious in my life." Then she smiled again, sharp, satisfied. "Now," she said, "they think I'm still a burden. And soon." Her eyes gleamed. They're going to learn what their indifference cost them. To understand why I emptied my bank account without hesitation, you have to understand how my family learned to erase people. It didn't start with Nana Rose. It started with me. I was born inconveniently. That's the polite version. My mother, Caroline, was barely out of her teens when she had me. I was the souvenir of a short, reckless romance she never liked talking about. For the first few years, we lived in Nana Rose's small house at the edge of town. The kind of place with peeling paint, drafty windows, and a soul baked into the walls. Then Caroline met Victor. Victor had plans. 5-year plans. 10-year plans. Color-coded calendars. A new development across town with identical houses and identical lawns. A future that smelled like fresh drywall and clean credit. I wasn't part of that blueprint. No one ever said it out loud. They didn't need to. Adults are very good at excluding children without words. When I was 6, the conversation happened over Nana's kitchen table. I remember the sound of ice clinking in Caroline's glass. I remember Victor smiling too hard. It's just temporary, Caroline said, not meeting my eyes. Until we get settled. The schools are better near Nana anyway. She'll keep you company. Temporary turned into permanent. Caroline moved out. I stayed. Nana Rose raised me on stubbornness and sacrifice. She worked long hours at a roadside cafe. Early mornings, aching feet, the smell of burnt coffee clinging to her clothes. She never complained. She never explained why she skipped dessert or why her coat stayed the same year after year. She just showed up. She showed up by ironing my thrift store school uniform so it looked new. By packing extra lunches just in case. By pretending she wasn't hungry, so I could eat more. I never felt poor in that house. I felt chosen. Every other weekend, I was driven across town to visit my real family. That's what Caroline called it. Those visits were performances. Caroline paraded me like proof of her moral adequacy. Look, I didn't abandon her. Victor nodded politely. My half-siblings got brand new toys while I got hand-me-down smiles. When holidays came, the hierarchy sharpened. I remember one winter gathering when I was 16. I'd just earned top marks at school, studying late at the cafe counter while Nana worked double shifts. I wanted Caroline to look at me the way she looked at my younger siblings, with pride instead of obligation. Instead, she pointed me to a folding chair in the kitchen. The adults are at the main table, she said lightly. You kids will be fine here. I ate off a paper plate while laughter drifted in from the dining room. That was the night I learned something important. I wasn't family. I was tolerated. Aralene's sister, Maribel, was worse. If Caroline practiced neglect, Maribel practiced precision. She specialized in compliments that felt like insults. You look so healthy, she'd say, eyes flicking to my cheap shoes. It's good you chose a modest university. Not everyone thrives under pressure. You're so independent. Not needy like some people. She loved reminding me I was the problem everyone had generously accommodated. Once, just before I left for college on scholarship, she patted my arm and said, "You should be grateful your mother didn't give up her life for you." I was the life she nearly gave up. I went outside and cried behind Nana's laundry line. Nana didn't ask questions. She never did. She wiped my face with rough hands and said, "Listen carefully, Lena. Blood is coincidence. Love is behavior." That sentence became my spine. I worked my way out. 3 jobs. No safety net. No fallback. I built a career in a city that rewarded polish and punished weakness. I learned how to package disasters into acceptable narratives. I learned how to smile while being dismissed. I learned how to survive rooms that weren't built for me. But I never left Nana behind. And neither did my fear. I watched her age in slow, quiet increments. The pause before climbing stairs. The tremor in her handwriting. The way she laughed things off to avoid being a burden. When I suggested specialists, Caroline waved me away. "She's fine. She's dramatic. Stop catastrophizing." Nana learned to disappear gracefully. And my family learned not to notice. Then came the medications. The heart pills that kept her upright. The prescriptions that suddenly went up in price. That group message, the one asking for help, wasn't a crisis. It was a mirror. And my family shattered themselves on it. Advice instead of help. Judgment instead of care. Silence dressed up as boundaries. When Nana told me she'd cut her pills in half, something inside me snapped. Not rage. Clarity. I wasn't stepping in because I was noble. I was stepping in because I knew exactly what happened when you waited for them to care. You vanished. That's why when she told me about the fortune, about the test, I didn't feel shock first. I felt recognition. Of course she tested them. Of course she needed proof. She had spent a lifetime being minimized, erased, managed. And now? Now she held the truth like a blade. And she wasn't done. We didn't announce our disappearance. That was deliberate. Nana Rose had spent a lifetime explaining herself, softening truths, apologizing for existing. She wasn't about to give them a courtesy memo now. The morning after she showed me the check, the documents, the plan, the truth, I woke up expecting panic. Instead, I felt light. No weight in my chest. No countdown clock in my head calculating bills. No quiet dread about the future. My phone told the story before my brain could catch up. Balance cleared. Account settled. Loan closed. While I slept, Nana's lawyer had quietly erased every debt tied to my name. No dramatic transfers. No flashy deposits. Just surgical precision. Poverty removed like a tumor. I stood in the kitchen staring at the screen when Nana walked in, already dressed, already focused. Eat, she said, sliding toast toward me. We have appointments. Plural. That was when I realized this wasn't a lucky break. It was a campaign. By noon, the legal fortress was complete. Trusts layered like armor. Medical autonomy locked down. Audio recordings cataloged. Independent evaluations confirming Nana was sharp, lucid, and very much in control. Her lawyer didn't speak to her. He spoke with her. That alone told me everything. When he mentioned that someone had recently tried to access Nana's medical records, fishing for cognitive decline, Nana didn't flinch. I assumed they would, she said calmly. That was the moment I stopped thinking of her as fragile. She wasn't prey. She was patient. We left the country the next evening. First class. No ruse. No guilt. No backward glances. Nana watched the clouds like she'd been waiting to rise above them her whole life. This, she said softly, reclining her seat, is what breathing feels like. Back home, the silence stretched. At first, they didn't notice. They were busy Pilates, brunch, renovations, engagement planning. Nana's absence didn't interrupt their rhythm. Then the small things went wrong. Mail piled up. Calls went unanswered. The house stayed dark. Concern arrived wearing panic's coat. My phone started vibrating like it was possessed. Where are you? Why isn't she answering? Is something wrong? Concern quickly curdled into suspicion. Then fear. Then hunger. The first message that made my stomach flip came from my cousin. Hey, weird question. Did Nana win something? I didn't respond. An hour later, my mother called. Then called again. Then texted. This isn't funny, Lena. If you took her somewhere without telling us, that's irresponsible. She's elderly. You can't just disappear with her. Disappear. Funny word. They hadn't noticed her fading for years. Now they noticed the absence. The news broke quietly at first. A local report. A name mentioned. A number so large it barely sounded real. By the time social media caught up, the panic had gone full-blown. My aunt accused me of manipulation. My mother accused me of kidnapping. My cousin accused me of getting ideas above my station. The group chat, the one Nana had been blocked from, lit up like a burning building. Suddenly, everyone loved her. Suddenly, everyone was worried. Suddenly, everyone had plans. We were sitting on a balcony in the mountains when my phone nearly shook itself off the table. Nana watched me read the messages, her expression unreadable. They're scared, I said. No, she corrected gently. They're cornered. That was when I made the mistake. Or maybe the move fate needed. I posted a photo. Nothing flashy. Just my face. Peaceful. Rested. Somewhere undeniably expensive. No location tag. 2 hours later, the trap snapped shut. Someone recognized the hotel. Someone connected the dots. And just like that, the family realized Nana Rose wasn't sitting in the dark anymore. She was sitting on power. They stopped asking where she was. They started asking when she'd be back. They weren't worried about her health. They were worried about access. And that was when Nana stood, looked out over the mountains, and said the words that changed everything. Book the flight home. Istihtahiya. Home. She nodded. They've gathered, she said calmly. Let's not keep them waiting. By the time we reached Nana Rose's street, I knew exactly what we were walking into. You could feel it before you saw it. That low, buzzing energy of people who believed they were about to claim something. Cars were everywhere. Not just my mother's. Not just my aunt's. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. Second cousins. A family accountant who only surfaced when money was involved. People who couldn't remember Nana's birthday, but somehow found time to stand on her lawn like it was an auction site. They'd parked on her grass. Her grass. The one she'd watered by hand through droughts because the sprinkler cost extra. I felt rage spike, hot and dangerous, but Nana only sighed. Look at that, she murmured. I couldn't get them here when the roof leaked. The car slowed. The crowd turned. And in that moment I saw it clearly. They weren't looking at her. They were looking at the vehicle. Luxury does that. It rewires respect. My mother rushed forward first, smile stretched too wide, eyes flicking to the tinted windows. Mom, she cried, voice trembling with manufactured relief. Thank God. We've been sick with worry. Nana stepped out slowly. No cane. No hesitation. Sunglasses on. Spine straight. She didn't hug anyone. She didn't explain. She walked past them and unlocked her front door. Inside, she said calmly. Let's talk. They'd rearranged the living room. That alone told me everything. Her sofa pushed back. The dining table dragged into the center. Stacks of printed documents laid out like weapons. This wasn't concern. It was a hearing. My aunt sat stiffly, clutching a binder. My mother hovered, anxious but rehearsed. The accountant avoided eye contact. They'd planned this. Nana took the seat at the head of the table, the one she used to clip coupons. She gestured for me to sit beside her. Now, she said. Who would like to start? My mother did. She always did. Mom, she began softly. We know the money is overwhelming. This kind of windfall attracts bad influences. Scammers. People who don't have your best interests at heart. Her eyes flicked to me. And Lena? Well, Lena means well, but she's young. She's never handled anything like this. I almost laughed. My aunt slid the binder forward. We've prepared a plan, she said briskly. A family trust. We'll manage the assets. Handle taxes. Investments. Charity. You'll receive a generous monthly allowance. Allowance? Of her own money. I felt my jaw tighten. Nana tilted her head. An allowance, she repeated thoughtfully. It's for your protection, my aunt said quickly. So you don't have to worry about the details. Nana reached into her bag, pulled out her tablet, tapped once. Before I respond, she said, I'd like my counsel to join us. The screen lit up. Her lawyer's face filled the room. The temperature dropped instantly. The accountant went pale. This meeting is being recorded, the lawyer said calmly. Please proceed. The tone changed. Fast. My aunt reached into her bag again. Fine, she snapped. If we're being formal. She slid a document across the table. A power of attorney. I recognized it immediately. Broad authority. Medical decisions. Asset liquidation. Total control. Just sign this, she said sweetly. We'll take care of everything. The lawyer's voice cut in sharply. Do not touch that pen. Nana didn't. Instead, she looked at the document. Tell me, she said quietly. Does this allow you to decide where I live? Well, yes, my aunt hesitated. In case of necessity. And sell my house? If needed. And place me in a facility? My aunt swallowed. For your safety. I stood. Funny, I said. 3 weeks ago, Her safety wasn't worth a few hundred for heart medication. The room froze. I connected my phone to the television. The group messages filled the screen. The advice. The budgeting app. The suggestion that her life was no longer cost-effective. My aunt's words stared back at us in high-definition silence. At her age, the message read. Does she really need all those medications? My mother gasped. That's out of context. No, I said calmly. That's verbatim. The lawyer leaned closer to his camera. You are attempting to obtain control of a fully competent adult's assets, he said. After documented neglect. I advise you to stop. My mother stood abruptly. This is manipulation, she shouted. She's poisoning you against us. Nana raised one finger. Seat. My mother sat. Nana picked up the power of attorney, tore it cleanly in half. I asked you for help, Nana said, her voice steady. Not management. Not advice. Help. She placed a blank sheet of paper on the table. If you truly want to be involved in my life, she continued, write down a commitment. 20 hours a week of personal care. Meals. Appointments. Company. No hired help. Silence. They stared at the paper like it was radioactive. My aunt scoffed. That's unreasonable. We have lives, my mother added weakly. I know, Nana said softly. So did I. Not one of them reached for a pen. Not one. Nana nodded. That's what I needed to know. She turned to the tablet. We're done here. The lawyer disconnected. My mother started crying. My aunt started bargaining. Too late. Nana stood. I have one more announcement. She handed each of them an envelope. Inside was a check. For $1. Attached to a letter. And a printed copy of their own words. This, Nana said, is your legacy. They left in silence. Engines roaring. Gravel crunching. No apologies that mattered. When the door closed, Nana leaned against it. Exhaled. I'm tired, she said. I hugged her. You're free, I whispered. She smiled. Not yet. The street didn't go quiet after they left. It hummed. Not with voices or engines, but with aftermath. The kind that lingers in the air after something heavy has finally dropped. Nana Rose sat at the kitchen table long after everyone was gone. Her fingers wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking from. The lilies on the table had begun to wilt. I realized they were the last thing she'd bought before everything changed. Do you regret it? I asked softly. She shook her head. I regret the years I waited. That night, she slept deeper than I'd ever seen. No alarms. No pills cut in half. No fear that help wouldn't come. For the first time in decades, she rested like someone who knew tomorrow was secure. The fallout arrived quietly. My mother didn't call again. Neither did my aunt. But the world moved fast once their access was severed. The accountant resigned within a week. The rumor mill churned. Family friends stopped inviting us to events they suddenly couldn't afford. I heard through a cousin that my aunt had tried to contest Nana's capacity. The case died on arrival. Too many records. Too many witnesses. Too much proof of neglect. They hadn't just lost the money. They'd lost the story they told themselves about who they were. Nana didn't buy a bigger house. She fixed the roof. She replaced the windows. She installed the kind of heating system that didn't force you to choose between warmth and groceries. Then she surprised me. I want to start something, she said one morning, spreading papers across the table. A foundation. Not a grand one. Not flashy. Something quiet. For people like her. People who fell through polite cracks. People whose families loved them in theory but not in practice. The criteria were simple. Medical support without humiliation. Legal protection without judgment. Emergency funds without sermons. No one should have to beg their own blood to stay alive, she said. I helped her build it. Contracts. Vetting. Safeguards. Every detail thought through with the care of someone who knew exactly how systems failed people. She changed her will last. That was deliberate too. We sat together with her lawyer on a sunny afternoon. She was calm, clear, unshakable. She left me the house. Not because it was valuable, but because it was home. To the rest of the family, she left letters. Not accusations. Explanations. Truths without cruelty. And one final sentence written in her careful script. Love is not proven by proximity, but by presence. She lived 3 more years. Good years. Years of walks. Of warm meals. Of laughter that didn't sound borrowed from the past. When she passed, it wasn't dramatic. It was gentle. She held my hand and said, "Thank you for choosing me." At the service, the family came. They sat stiffly. Quietly. No one spoke to me. I didn't mind. They weren't the audience anymore. Months later, I stood alone in the house. Sunlight poured through the windows she'd replaced. The foundation was thriving. Lives were being steadied. And somewhere I knew Nana Rose was smiling, not because she'd won money, but because she'd finally been seen. Some inherit wealth. Others inherit truth. I inherited the courage to never disappear again. Please click the subscribe button, like, share, and comment. This will encourage me to make more interesting stories. Also, let's know where you are watching from. Thank you and see you in the next story.